Welcome back, everybody. All right. Hello, Spencer.
Hello, hello.
Let's sing.
Okay, yeah, let's sing this last week for whatever you do. So, here we go. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. When you love the Lord your God with your heart and soul, that's what you've done for me. When you love your neighbor just as you love yourself, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me.
Thanks. All right. The story today is one you've maybe heard, but it really has something surprising in it that is not what you think is going to happen. And so we're going to play a little game, and maybe it will surprise you. Maybe there'll be something in this that will surprise you. So I am going to say three things about me, and Spencer has to guess which one is not true. And maybe the things you learn will surprise you about me. Okay? So the first thing is I paint my nails every week. So this is something I do every week, that I paint my nails. The next thing is I baked a pie today. All right? And then the last one is I want to dye my whole hair hot pink. So, which one of these things is not true? Painting my nails, baking a pie, or dyeing my hair pink?
Well, I know you want to dye your hair pink because we've talked about it. I'm going to say baking the pie is not true.
That is correct. I did not bake a pie, and most likely will not bake a pie. So that is probably true. If you were my child and you wanted a pie, you would be out of luck unless we were going to the store. However, my Jacob loves to bake, so he bakes pies. So I'm golden right now.
You still get pie, right? But
I know. That's the most important thing. I still get pie. All right. We have a story to read, and then we'll talk about what was the surprising thing in this story. It comes from Luke. Go
okay.
ahead, Spencer.
All right, so this is Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. A man who knew a whole lot about religious laws came to Jesus with a question. He said, Teacher, how do I really truly live with God? And then Jesus asked him,
Well, what does God's law say? How do you understand it?
The man answered him, It says to love God completely, with heart and soul and strength and mind, and to love your neighbor like your own self. And Jesus said to him,
That's it. Do that, and you'll have the life you're asking about.
Still wondering, the man asked, But who exactly is my neighbor? And in response, Jesus told this story.
A man was walking down the road that led from Jerusalem to Jericho when robbers attacked, took his clothes, beat him up, left him there lying, suffering and alone. A priest happened to walk by, but as he came near, he saw the hurt man. So he crossed to the other side of the road. After him, a Levite, another religious man, did the same thing. And then a Samaritan came, and when he saw the injured man, he felt compassion for him. He came to the man and treated his wounds and bandaged them. He put the man on his own animal and brought him to an inn where he could be safe and rest while he was healed. The Samaritan took care of the injured man. The next day, the Samaritan found the innkeeper, paid his bill, and said, "Take care of that man. When I come back, I'll pay you whatever more it costs you."
And then Jesus asked,
Who became a neighbor to the man who was attacked?
and the man with the question said, "The one who had compassion for him." And Jesus said,
Go and do that. All right. We're going to find our coloring sheets now.
Okay, so if you're in the younger group, you'll have the coloring sheets that look like this that make a book.
Yep. And if you were in the older group, you'll have a sheet like this. The last few, I didn't do all the coloring. I must have enjoyed this one because I colored the whole page. So I hope you enjoy coloring it too. Let's chit chat. So Spencer, what does neighbor mean to you?
Well, what comes to my mind immediately is the person who lives next door to me,
Mm-hmm.
friend Kay.
Yeah. You have great neighbors. You have,
Do.
and you have a neighbor that lives below you too.
I do. Yes, I do. She's fun. She has to listen to me play the piano, so she always says it's really nice. So I'd take that as a compliment, I guess.
That's good.
Being kind.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
So
see. I have
yeah.
to find my things here. So, how do you imagine the man in the story felt after he was robbed and beaten?
Well, I'm sure he felt really bad. I can't imagine how it would feel to have that happen to me, to be left there to basically die and take all my money and take everything. Must be scared, alone, um, nervous, you know. Yeah, not very good.
Mhm.
So I wonder what the Samaritan was thinking when he decided to help the man in need. Even though Samaritans and Jews normally didn't get along at the time, what do you think was going through the Samaritan's mind? You see, this is the part of the story that is the big surprise. So the people that walked by the man who was laying there were people who maybe should have, you would have thought in this story, they would be the ones to stop and help him. The Samaritan was somebody who, there where they lived and where the man that had been beaten lived, those people were not friends. They were like Vikings and Packers, you know? If you think about the people who like are not, they don't get along and they don't think the same and they like different teams, that kind of thing. And they helped him anyway, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. Do you think that the Samaritan was maybe a little nervous at first to help him, but decided that it was more important to be kind and compassionate?
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of I think, maybe.
Yeah. I think that you might be right. He probably was nervous because helping him also makes him kind of vulnerable to be criticized or maybe get hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And he must have seen that that person, no matter where he was from, was human,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And felt that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the people listening to this story would have been enemies to the Samaritans, since Jews and Samaritans did not get along. How do you imagine the people Jesus was talking to felt when they heard the story of a Samaritan reaching out to help a Jew? And then how do you think that you would have felt if you were in their shoes?
Yeah. So Jesus telling this story, this man is wondering, how am I going to follow you? And sometimes I think we think that's going to be easy, right? And Jesus telling this story probably was very surprising to the one hearing it. Like, what? I am supposed to help my enemy? I'm supposed to help the people that I don't like? You know, that's not something I'm signed up for. And so I'm sure they felt very surprised by that. And it is something that still today is hard for people. If we think about that story was told thousands of years ago, and today still people struggle to understand how that can be not surprising, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can you imagine someone you could surprise this week with your willingness to help?
Mm. Yeah. I'm really lucky to live close to downtown, and there are a lot of our neighbors that are really struggling. And so figuring out a way to help them um, would probably be something that I would try to do.
Hmm. That is a great idea. Our compassion in action this week talks about making a little um, baggie for people that might be living on the street. And maybe that's something that you would enjoy doing. It says, in here, it talks about a granola bar or a water bottle and putting it in a Ziploc bag. But right now, I've even heard people who carry like a pair of socks, a new pair of socks, or a pair of mittens, or excuse me, together with them. And then they can give those to someone that's maybe cold outside or that needs a clean pair of socks, which is just something that they really treasure when they have the opportunity to have. So that might be something that would be helpful. I think for kids right now, there's not a lot of us that are going out and shopping and doing things. So it kind of is hard to figure out how we can be helpful in that same way. So I think about your schools and having same kinds of things. There are lots of kids at school that don't have everything that they need. So maybe giving to your school mittens or boots or gloves or snow pants, something like that, to give kids the opportunity to play outside in the winter and do things like that. There are lots of places that we can give to help others at this time, especially at the holidays. Mm-hmm. All right. So, are we ready to sing? All right.
I muted myself, so I have to fix that. Okay. All right. Whatever you do, one last time. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. When you love the Lord your God with your heart and soul, that's what you've done for me. When you love your neighbor just as you love yourself, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me. Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of my children, that's what you've done for me.
Thank you, Spencer. All right. We've come to our prayer time. So let's take our deep breath in. Hold it and blow it out. Dear God, thank you for teaching us about the Samaritan in our story today who helped someone he was supposed to see as an enemy. Help us to be kind to those we have hard time getting along with in our lives. And give us compassionate hearts and tenderness for others we have fought with. So grudges don't get in the way of offering a helping hand to someone who needs us. And all God's children said, Amen. This is our last Sunday school lesson in this series. That should have been your last paper that you colored. So I just want to let you know that next Sunday, you will see me. We will be doing a lesson about Advent candles. So we'll be doing that next week. And then the following week, we are going to show one of our past pageants. So tune in for that because you'll probably catch a glimpse of yourself. And after that, when we come back after Christmas, we'll start a new curriculum like this one. So you'll be watching for the mail and getting your coloring sheets in the mail. Okay? So I'm so glad you've been with us this time, and I thank Spencer for doing all the singing.
You're very
All
welcome.
right, we'll see you next week.